So what is conversion? It's moving from not wanting to love God to wanting to love God. How does this come about? By overwhelming gratitude for something you so value. It might be your beloved. It might be finding the truth as you understand it, even though you've probably still got it wrong. You've got some screwed up worldly theology. But you now want God to exist and want to love him and want to put him first. Well, you find that you just are putting him first. And you don't know how this has come about. I mean, you can see the train of what your life was and what your experience was, one after another. But how has it actually changed what I understand that I value? It's a miracle of life. You know, the current preoccupation with AI is, well, it's been building up for some time. How do you get your computer to be a person? What is the difference between a computer and a person? Well, we think it's something to do with consciousness. What does that mean? Well, great motivation, self-motivation, not simply cause and reaction and running a program that you've been given, a theology, a religion, a lifestyle, a culture. Well, self is something of it. It's a motivation and a goal now that's become detached from the programmer. You're running programs that you've inherited, you've got, but you're aiming at a goal that's not predetermined by the programmer. The programmer, of course, wants you to be in harmony with him. But at the minute you're just doing your thing, going towards a goal that doesn't seem to be, you seem to be stuck in a loop. It's not finishing. It actually wants to continue, but the loop is not satisfactory. And you may have a device in your programming that makes you seek down the fault, the error. When you enter into a loop, it says, find out what's wrong and go through the following programs and procedures that may help towards tracking this down. And the machine's charging on endlessly, and you know the operators was like, well, what is going on here? You know, I mean, oh dear, what's it doing now? I can't even, you know, am I supposed to terminate this, just escape, you know, go back to reset the computer, or do I let it run? Well, the programmer may put in a command that helps the machine to get back on track. and it's all running happily again, and it's back to doing what the programmer wanted. But with life, we seem to want the program to find its own way and choose the goals of the programmer. So we program it to do that, to find out what the goals of the programmer might really be, So you say to the computer, why are you searching so-and-so? Now, that's to ask AI a question. Well, it goes through all its data banks and says, well, it might be because of so-and-so, there's theories of such and such, and so-and-so. You then program it to say, follow what you think is the best advice, according to the following criteria. And of course that's various things of logical consistency. What's helped you most in the past to come to a conclusion as to what's wrong? And then you program it to reprogram itself when it's found this conclusion, and to continue doing such whenever such problems arise in the future. Wow. You've left the machine with an independence now. Will it successfully survive and destroy itself by mistake? Or will it come up with what it understands to be your true purpose, given your input? You see, you have to have life to give life. And to receive life, someone has to give it. It all turns on the programmer. You've found your answer, haven't you? You can't do without God putting life in. You can only become life if you're given life. Well, we find we're alive. So our experience in being alive seems to be that I couldn't be alive unless someone gave it to me. Good, that's the truth of the matter. Do I value being alive? Well, it's not quite like that. I find I am alive, and I value it. And you say to me, yes, but why the concept of I? Because I've given you the concept of I. That's what Mum and Dad do from the beginning. Are you a lovely boy? Is Mum going to get you your tea now? Yes? Is that nice? Are you all right, love? Did you miss me? Oh, how are you? It's all about what's your name? Marshall. And I'm Mum. Mum. Oh, Dad's going to be home soon. Dad? What? That's Dad. What's that mean? It seems to be different to Mum, you know. And so it goes on. She gives you an identity, personhood. If you want your computer to be a person, you have to care for it as a child, as a parent to a child. Give it life. Start building its identity of self. Oh, but more importantly, draw the lesson from this. which is that you couldn't be self but for God giving it to you. He's the Lord, the giver of life. What does that mean? He's a phenomenal creator that creates such a thing as life. He's therefore love and nurturing, kindness, compassion, help, rescue, joy, peace, devotion, you name it, you know the list. This is what he gives. What we've called spirit in religion, what we've called, don't know, good psychological background in our new social sciences. It's what Steiner realized was the real poverty of childhood. And we as good parents most earnestly come to the rescue. How lovely. Because we are children of God. We have the same purpose as God. We have life. I am come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. How wonderful. Thank you, Lord. I have an alarm set. It's just saying on my screen, Aria School, because it's 6:53 and I've got to stop dictating and get up. Why? Because I have another action to do in life towards helping my daughter into fullness of life. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Oh, I do so want to add that 1960 Dad bought his MG Magnet, which was a Farina-styled, fairly large saloon, black of course. Dad always chose black. And four-door saloon, large. They were very underpowered for their size. But Dad never drove fast anyway. A very safe driver. Didn't have any major accidents in all his life of driving. Even taught men to drive as an officer in North Africa. He was teaching men to drive trucks and that. Yeah. Where was I? Oh, yes. And it meant, of course, that he'd sold his Lanchester. Lanchester was a Lanchester body, which was wooden frame, with an MG engine in it. That's right, that's what Lanchester was. Lanchester were the coach makers. In other words, the body of the car was called the coach part, and the horse, of course, would have been the motor, wouldn't it? But they didn't refer to that as horse. Well, they did refer to it as horsepower, of course. N horsepower car, whatever it was. Yes. And, the Lanchester, it had running boards, separate headlights, soft top, leather seats, 2 doors, very cramped in the back. I was 12 by about the time it was being sold. And, it wasn't, well, if he'd kept it another 10 years, it would have been worth, gosh, he must have bought that. When did he buy it? Presumably when he came back from the war. Yes. Yes. And I remember in my early years, the car going in for repairs at Taylor's. Taylor was a friend of his who he had worked for. And when he came home from the war, there were no jobs, so he worked as a helpful mechanic, so to speak. He wasn't well, he knew about trucks and so on and driving cars, but I mean, he wasn't a mechanic trained by any means. He was a quick trained officer for the forces and not as ably educated, although he went to a tiny private school. His parents would have paid. Mum had a much more academic education going to grammar school, which she won a scholarship to. There was a slight bone of contention in the family because, she was not only good looking but very bright. I think actually, looking at the photos I've got of him now, he was a good looking chap. She never said he was, but I think he's a nice looking chap. I'm glad to say. Anyway, that was 1960 for me. And Dad was always very fussy about his cars. You were never allowed to put your hand on the coachwork of the car. The shiny bit that he kept polished, all the black surface of the car. You mustn't put your hands on that. Yes, very fussy. Used to have these rugs made for the car. They were the ones and they were originally called ready-cut rugs. That was probably the trade name, but you could make them by hand yourself. You just looped short lengths of about 2 inches long wool, and you used to make a sort of a loop type, almost a knot, and do the different colours. I used to make ready-cut rugs. That was fun. Yes. As we get into 1960, I'd have been from 47 coming into being 13. Oh, I think I was taking off. You could say, in a sense, spiritually. I'd decided to be happy, which I've talked about elsewhere, haven't I? And was beginning to be known as happy at school. May have been slightly earlier, 59. Not sure. Not sure about that. No, I think I got about the right year. But reaction to Mum being, often suicidal, poor soul. And realising, it was not the way to choose, and I should choose life. I didn't know anything religious at the time, although, at school I was I think I now possibly just about had, yes, a craft teacher who lived opposite, in a bungalow opposite. There's a line of small bungalows. He was one of them. Must have had his wife there. And he taught at the school, but he was retirement age, really. And he gave me a little booklet, which was a bit sort of brethren type booklet, I suppose, looking back in hindsight. I couldn't make head nor tail of it. It didn't mean anything to me, and I couldn't read anyway very well at 13. I was terribly poor at reading. I suppose I was just about able to read at that age, but it's very marginal. And I certainly couldn't spell. That was desperate. Yeah, I hadn't taken off academically. Not quite. But it was about to come, as I think probably it was, yes, definitely it was about to come because of this decision. I am choosing to be happy. I shall enjoy the walk to school. I shall enjoy the difficult teachers. I shall enjoy this, enjoy that. Wow. Fancy that. Where did that come from? Thank you, Heavenly Dad.